What is up, listeners? We're back yet again with another incredible interview. We're trying to highlight people in all aspects of the music industry, as always. And so we're bringing you another photographer, and we love her.
She's awesome. I just love hearing people who are passionate about what they do. And that is Sophie, first off, please go look at her portfolio. She'll give a link to it. She does such incredible work, but you can tell she loves what she does.
Yes, for sure. And she just was so cool to talk to. And she has an incredible story of her very first show ever that you're going to hear. So I'll stop rambling and let you listen to it. I'm Leah.
And I'm Beth Ann.
And this is She Will Rock You.
Where are they getting a dub in a CBS executive meeting?
No.
Bitch, don't touch my thermostat. The ghost be like, hold up, before I haunt you, let me turn down the thermostat. Who is this band?
We're on page 1, guys. This is She Will Rock You. We are joined tonight by a music photographer, a little bit different than our usual interview guests, Sophie Harris. Thanks for coming.
Hi, thank you guys for having me.
I'm super excited. I feel like a stalker because I followed you for a while. Because we've had Glimmers and Misty Eyed on our show, and you photographed both of them. And I saw, I think it was a Misty Eyed photo, and I was like, this editing style looks familiar. And then they had tagged you, and I was like, that's why it looks familiar.
I love that you were able to recognize my work out there. That's what I try to do. Like, I want someone to look at one of my photos and not even know it's attached to me and be like, Sophie Harris took that.
I love that. I don't know exactly how to describe your editing style, but it is very unique, and I really like it.
Thank you.
So to get started, tell us about yourself and how you got into photography, music photography.
Yeah, I mean, both my parents are musicians, so I've always grown up with, like, surrounded by music and with, like, a very fun appreciation for it. And then in, like, elementary or middle school, I realized that I was pretty gifted in visual arts. I mean, not so much music. I sing in the shower and in the car, but visual arts is really like where my passion was. And then in high school, I discovered I could kind of merge those two loves, music and visual arts, with music photography. So I took a camera to the concert for the first time in 2013. And then 2016, I started getting media passes, working with publications, so starting to do concert photography officially. Then 2019, I turned into a professional career.
That's awesome. Living the dream. So you're based in Atlanta, right?
Yes, I am.
What is the music scene like there? Because I feel like a lot of people think you have to go to New York or LA to be a music photographer.
Right. I mean, first of all, I will say that being in a big city does help. I've been in Atlanta since 2019, but before that, I was in college and I grew up in Greenville, South Carolina, which I love it. It's a great city, really like thrives with visual arts, but there's not a lot of concert venues. So the closest one to me that wasn't like an arena or like a tiny bar with 100 people, there was no in between, was in Asheville, which is like an hour north. So not too bad, but it's still kind of like on the like B-side states of a lot of tours. Mm-hmm. So Atlanta was the closest like major city. And luckily I have family here who I could always stay with. But in college, I would be driving at least once a week, 2.5 hours to and from Atlanta. And it's pretty draining. But yeah, like I said, the day after I graduated, I moved here. And it's been really nice. There's a really good pop punk scene. Like Glimmers and Misty Eyed, actually, you mentioned both of them. They just played the big gig at the Masquerade on February 5th. And I got to see both of them and photograph a couple other bands too. It's a big showcase of local Atlanta bands in the rock scene. So yeah, like a lot of us really feel like family and are really close to each other and help support each other. And I love it. Like it feels like a big music family.
Oh, I love that.
It sounds like such a fun scene, because I know a lot of scenes can get really competitive and a lot of bands won't share secrets or share their teams. So it sounds like Atlanta's a little bit friendlier.
It really is. And I think a lot of that is because it's not as like concentrated. Whereas like New York and LA, like they do have a lot more opportunities than Atlanta does, but there's more competition, like more people fighting for the same gigs. And I've never really been one for that like competitive environment. I just genuinely love supporting other people around me, whether it's like musicians, photographers, other friends, like not even just creatives. Like I just genuinely love supporting everyone. And if we just so happen to be doing the same field, like I'll be just as happy if they get a gig, you know?
I love that.
Yeah.
More supporting people in the creative community.
Yes,
Exactly.
100%.
So what does the typical night or nights shooting shows look like for you?
That's a complicated question because my past 2 nights I've been working multiple gigs.
Ooh, what's
So that's
that
been
like?
crazy. Yeah. So on January 28th, I guess it was like a few Fridays ago, I had a gig at the Masquerade for a local band, and then I had to go to the Tabernacle right after that for a gig for Interscope. So it was I thrive on chaos, honestly. Luckily those two venues are like 10 minutes apart, and my grandparents were actually able to help me get to and from. Shout out to my grandparents if you're listening.
Aw.
Yeah. But yeah, a lot of things happen in the same nights nowadays, like especially post-COVID in Atlanta. So there really is like no typical night for me, because sometimes I'll be working like through a publication or a record label. Sometimes I'll be working through the artist directly. But the main thing that's like a constant is editing right after the show. I typically like to hand in like 5 to 10 social media selects the night of, because I know how important timeliness is, and especially if you're on tour, posting on social media and like advertising for the next shows. And artists really appreciate that. So that's like really the only constant as far as I guess a typical night is just having fun at the show, getting to know people, shooting, and then coming home, probably grabbing a McDonald's Coke on the way out and editing until I fall asleep.
McDonald's soft drinks, just they hit different.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
true. Especially at 12 a.m.
Oh, I know.
They got that spicy Sprite.
Oh,
The
yeah.
spicy Sprite.
Well, the Coke's great because it's got the caffeine. It'll help you stay up to edit.
Yes, I'm sure that's a very late night. End on end. What is your craziest story from the photo pit?
Oh my gosh. Okay. Does it have to be photo pit, or can it be like
No, at a show.
Okay, because I have a crazy one. I was hoping you would ask this question, and it was actually my first ever show with a photo pass in 2016. It's from the 1975, which is a band that like
What a
I had loved
good
for a long
first show.
time. That was my first show with a photo pass.
Yeah.
First show like in general was R5 in 2013, who is now the Driver Era, and I got to photograph them again in December, so it was a cool like full circle moment.
Nice.
Anyway, yeah, 2016, 1975. I was so nervous too. Like, oh my gosh. I remember like freaking out, like not thinking that my photo pass would be in the box office and all of that, because I had no idea how this went. I was also the only person in the photo pit. It was in Charleston too. So of course I didn't know that was not the norm to be the only person in the photo pit in an arena show. Like,
Yeah.
that was pretty great. I guess it was the amphitheater, but same thing, I guess.
Yeah.
I did know to be there for the first 3 songs, thanks to Todd Al-Young. He has this blog called I Shoot Shows. It was a really great resource for me, like to kind of prepare myself for how to get a photo pass in the first place. But anyway, after the first 3 songs, I was able to shoot the rest of the show from like the back of the general admission pit and like get some crowd stuff and some cool like ambiance shots. Remember I said the show was in 2016. So it happened to be 2 days after the Orlando Pulse shooting. Which of course at the time was the deadliest mass shooting in US history. And it was at the LGBT nightclub during Pride Month and all of that. But yes, so if for those of you who don't know who the 1975 are, aren't familiar with their music, they have a song called Loving Someone, which is really like the whole purpose of it is about lifting up members of the LGBT community. And they dedicated that song to the victims of the shooting. And in front of me, there was this girl holding up a sign that said Orlando Strong up in rainbow letters. And you could kind of see like the rainbow colors peeking out from the sign. So I got a picture with a wide lens, snapped it, and then went over to her to show her. And she just like immediately burst into tears. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is the first time that I realized that one of my photos has really meant something to someone. So I gave her a hug and we exchanged emails. I promised to send her the photo the next day. So I did. The next day I heard from her, and she told me, thank you so much for taking that photo. You have no idea how much it meant to me because someone I went to high school with was a victim of the shooting.
Oh,
She's from Orlando. She had driven all the way to Charleston to see the 1975, her favorite band. And I still keep in contact with her, and it's been 6 years.
wow.
But like that moment was really the first time that I realized that like just one photo can mean something to someone.
Right.
And like ever since then, I've told myself, as long as my art can mean something to just one person, then I know for sure I'm doing the right thing, even if we're in a pandemic and there's a year and a half without live music. So that one moment definitely like kept me going.
Wow. What a beautiful story. Just like how photography can unite people, but like shows can bring people together, music can bring people together.
Absolutely. And I think that's like why I'm so drawn to live music in general, is because it's so good at like uniting people.
Mm-hmm. I don't even know how to follow that up because that was such a good story. Let's throw the rest of the questions out.
Like I said, the bar is so high. None of my other questions and answers are going to live up to that one, probably.
Completely changing gears. Pun not intended. What kind of gear do you shoot with?
I love it. I live for a good pun. I'm a Canon gal through and through. I started on a Canon Rebel T5.
That's so funny.
Oh, is that what you have?
What's sitting right here? Yes.
Oh, she's beautiful. I love that camera strap too.
It's a Disney World strap that I bought like
love
5
it.
years ago.
Oh, let's do a live recording from Disney World next time.
Okay.
Yes. We'll make it happen.
Yeah. So for the first like couple years of just like experimenting with photography, taking photography classes, I was using my parents' Canon T3, and then senior year of high school, my great grandma got me a T5 for Christmas. And I used that for my first year of concert photography, like in the pit, even at arena shows, like 5 Seconds of Summer, I shot that year on the Canon Rebel, which is crazy to me looking back at it, that like the photos are actually really good. I mean,
because you're
my
good at
edits
what you
at the
do.
time were not great because I didn't learn Lightroom until 2018. And I was doing everything manually through Photoshop.
Oh,
But,
man.
I know, yeah.
Lightroom is, I just started working with Lightroom because I got a new computer, so it could actually like handle having more than just 2 Adobe programs. But like, it's so life-changing. I edit the smallest pictures in Lightroom because I love the effects of it.
Oh, yeah. It's so fun. But yeah, saying all that to say this, like, don't ever let lack of being able to get like a mirrorless Canon or like 5D Mark IV or whatever stop you, because those Canon Rebels get the job done, especially if you've got a good lens to work in low light, which brings me to the Canon 50mm f1.8, aka the Nifty 50. Canon, if you're
I've never
listening,
heard it called the Nifty
me,
50. I love that.
Oh yeah, like that lens is single-handedly why my earliest photos came out, you know, because the kit lens only goes up to f5.6. So you need like a larger opening in your lens to be able to let more light in darker situations. But I don't really use that one anymore except for portraits, because the like fixed lens makes things sharper and the 1.8 makes the background a lot blurrier, like the depth of field thing. Nowadays what I use is a Canon 6D, which is full frame, as opposed to the Rebels crop frame, and then Tamron 2470 f2.8 and Tamron 7200 f2.8. That 7200 is pretty much the only thing I use at festivals with big stages. So I did Shaky Knees not too long ago, and on the 2 main stages, they're really tall and I'm really not. So yeah, except for like the big wide crowd shots, there's not really much that I personally really like getting with the 2470. So I mostly have my 7200 f2.8 with me in the festival pits. I also use a couple other gadgets, the fractal prisms and Hoya star filters. I obviously don't use them for everything, maybe like 30% of my photos, but it gives it that extra, extra sparkle.
They definitely make a difference. They give that
exactly
like cool light vibe. I always wondered how people got that light effect, and that makes sense.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Definitely really easy to overdo. And sometimes I just like won't use it at all if it doesn't really match the artist's vibe. I typically like to do like a little bit of research into the artist music in general, if I'm not familiar with them yet. But if it does match the artist vibe, then to go all out, man.
That makes sense. You can always tell when photographers didn't do research on the artist and they show up and they're just as confused and they're just like, I'll take 3 shots. I'm getting paid to be here. And you can tell in their photos that they're not into it.
Yeah. I mean, there definitely have been times where I was like more into it than other times. But I'm still like, I always just have this zest for what I do. Even if it's an artist that I would never listen to in general, it's just so fun, like for me, seeing live music and being able to capture all of that, and the people in the front row who like this may be their favorite band.
Yeah.
Like, even if I don't personally love the music, I get to love it like through other people, which is awesome.
I love that, and I appreciate that. So if someone's listening to this and they're interested in becoming a concert photographer, what advice do you have for them?
Do it. Like, believe in yourself. Don't compare yourself to other people. I know it's impossible said than done, but get out there, do it. Find a good support system. Definitely look at Todd's blog, I Shoot Shows, because I personally, like, in this short time period, could not tell you everything about like how to get onto a publication, how to get photo passes, how to monetize your work, all of that. But ishootshows.com is definitely a really, really good tool for that. And don't be afraid to ask questions. That's honestly the biggest thing, because there's so many people out here who like genuinely want to see others succeed. Like in my whole support system in concert photography, I'd say probably 90% of us genuinely like help each other out and want to welcome other people into the community. And like if any of us have a question, are like more than happy to answer. So honestly, like come to me if you ever need any advice, even if you're a stranger. I will happily respond to your question. But as far as gear, I would say like the most important thing is to have a lens that works in low light, because you're going to be starting in like smaller rooms or clubs. So whether it's Canon or Nikon or Sony, that 50 millimeter f1.8 lens is a godsend, and it's only like $100, which is by far the cheapest lens you'll ever find.
Awesome. Before I throw it to Beth Ann for some lightning round questions, where can people find you and your work?
So my portfolio, my best of the best, is on sophieharrisphoto.com. And you can find me on social media on Instagram.com/SophieHarrisPhoto, or Twitter.com/Sophieology_. Sophie Harris Photo was too long.
That Twitter limit gets us every time.
Yeah, that dang 16 characters.
That's why where she will rock the letter U, pod.
Oh, I love that.
It's the only thing that would fit.
Yeah.
So I'm going to apologize for this question.
Oh. Are you going to ask it?
I think I will. I've been debating while you've been talking. You're going to regret that. And I need to give a setup for it, because while I was writing the lightning round questions, we interviewed a music journalist, and the first question I thought of for her was, which Muppet character would you write a 3,000-word expose? And then
obviously.
The correct answer. Or Miss Piggy. One of those two. And then I switched gears to you as a photographer, while still having the Muppets on the brain. And this is the question I came up with, and I'm just going to go ahead and ask it. If you could shoot a boudoir shoot with any Muppet character, which would it be and why?
Okay, can I apologize for my answer now? It may be a little funny. This is just the first thing that popped into my head, but Gonzo.
Yes.
It's the nose, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the nose. That's what I'm saying. Like, you got to be creative there.
Okay, I feel better about
I
asking
would
that
say Miss
question.
Piggy, but I know she would be too much of a diva for me to handle, and I like things more low key. So Renzo's chill. You could vibe.
I get that.
He'd be totally into it.
He
Mhm.
would. Jeez. I'm glad I asked that. That was a solid answer.
Oh, I
Solid
love it.
answer.
I love those kind of questions. I've never heard it before. That makes me love it even more.
You know, it's just where my brain goes these days. It's what the pandemic. This is a result of the pandemic, in case you're wondering. It's just this 90s
Don't
nostalgia
apologize
warpness.
for your creative brain ever.
Well, I appreciate it. Next question. If you had to shoot professionally, do a concert, would you rather shoot it on a flip phone circa 2006 or those 2000 iZone skinny camera things that had a little Polaroid picture that came out?
Ooh, I'll go for the Polaroid. That'd be different.
Ooh.
As long as I can use flash.
Yes. Flash is
Yeah.
included.
You would
Because you
need
get
to
those
use-
really fun color strips that come with it. So
Right.
that's a solid
Yeah,
choice.
no one ever sees those. I actually shot a little bit of footage at a festival last year on an old 90s camcorder.
Ooh.
And that was fun. It was just for the band's personal use, but it was still fun to like use it.
That sounds
That's
like a
super
lot
cool.
of fun.
I'm all about it. Don't let the gear hold you back. I mean, you can make a gourmet meal in an easy bake oven, technically.
I like
Very
that
true.
saying.
Very true. You kind of answered this a little bit, but I'm going to ask it again anyway. Best snack post shoot.
Okay, well, I will, even though I already said McDonald's Coke, that's a drink, so I'm gonna say something
True.
different. McDonald's fries.
Yes.
And you can get them on the app every day for $1, or if it's Friday, you can get it for free. So I'm all about not spending that money.
That's
Good to
some
know.
good tidbit and wisdom.
Yeah. I mean, I do live in a suburb of Atlanta, so I'm a little bit limited after 10 p.m. to like McDonald's, Wendy's, and Cookout. But
Yeah.
you really can't go wrong with any of those.
No, absolutely not. And then our signature question. If you were a cereal, which would you be and why?
I would be a Rice Krispies because when I stand up, my knees snap, crackle, and pop.
I'm right there with you on the verge of 30.
Yep. It's starting to happen on my back too. I mean, carrying around that heavy camera gear all the time.
Oof.
Yeah.
Although I have been switching to a belt, which has been really helpful.
There you go.
More so at festivals and not just like one-off shows. If I need to like grab a lens really fast, and it's way better for my back too.
I'm
Yeah.
sure.
There was one time where I was in a meeting and my knees started hurting and found out there was a thunderstorm on the way, and it freaked me out. Absolutely freaked me out.
Oh my
'Cause
gosh.
I'm like, this is true. The saying is true. You feel it in your knees.
Yeah. It's like Karen Smith from Mean Girls.
Leah, that was all my questions. I
Okay.
rest it to you.
Come up with another one. Instead of
Okay.
lightning round, come up with one right off the top of your head.
All right, fine. What's better? Hot fudge covered in, well, hold on, let me restate it. Covering yourself in hot fudge and marshmallows or covering yourself in peanut butter and having a dog lick you?
Peanut butter because chocolate is toxic to dogs.
Well, the dog wouldn't lick you at that point. You would literally just be walking around in hot fudge and marshmallows.
That's sticky.
But if you get peanut butter, then the dogs lick you. But then you're being licked by dogs everywhere.
Yeah. I'll go with the hot fudge so then I can like keep it on me and then take it off at my own will.
Fair enough.
Free snack.
Yeah.
You see where my mind goes?
I love it.
On that note, thank you so much for coming and talking to us tonight. This has been such a fun chat.
Yeah, thank you so much. This was a highlight of my week.
Thank you for listening. You can leave us a review on Apple Podcasts if you like this show. Special thanks to Death of Fawn for our intro riff. You can visit our website at shewillrockyou.com. There you'll find links to our social, the show notes, and a place where you can contact us. Other than that, don't do drugs.